All right, welcome to the show, Ric Raftis. How are you, Ric?
Ray.
Good afternoon,
yourself?
Ric.
Yeah,
Good
good.
Nick.
Ric, where do we find you today? Are you in the centre of the universe?
I am. And I imagine you're out in one of our suburbs.
Tell us about where you are, Ric, because I know you're very proud of the town you live in. Tell us where you are today.
I'm in Wedderburn in central Victoria. It's about 75 k's northwest of Bendigo. Town of about 750 people. Typical rural town with a good community. But like all rural towns, struggling to meet the demands of the changes in, I suppose. And Wedderburn's basically got everything here for people, apart from an aged care facility to look after people when they can no longer look after themselves.
You've lived there ever since I've known you, but how long have you lived there now, Ric?
26 years.
Oh, wow. Tell us a bit about where you grew up.
Oh, goodness me. I grew up in Mitcham in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne when Mitcham was the bush. In fact, there probably wasn't too much difference between Wedderburn and Mitcham at the time. When you look back at it, the Maroondah Highway or White Horse Road was single lane. We lived on a dirt road. We still had the pan man come for the toilets and the horse and cart with the milk and the baker's van for the bread. So, yeah, probably 15 centuries ago sometimes.
And then did you move? Where did you move after that? So after Mitcham, where did you head from there?
I joined the Army when I was 17 and did a 3-year stint in the Army.
How was
that? Really good, actually. Yeah. Because I joined the Army and see the world, and I spent 3 years at Broadmeadows. Some of the most exciting years of my life.
Tell us a bit more about that. What did you learn in the Army, Ric?
Mateship, probably the value of being a part of something important and allowing other people to depend on you and you depending on other people. That was probably the most important thing about the Army. And I think that culture tends to stay with you for the rest of your life. When I'm a service member of the RSL here in Wedderburn now, I'm the secretary. And it was only recently that we had a bit of an issue about some plaques and that type of thing. And it's just interesting the approach that you have and the attitude that you have because of that history. It sort of has a little bit of a different culture.
There's a lot of people that live by the theory that kids these days should go and do a stint in the Army. Do you agree with that?
No. The reason that I don't agree with it is simply because there's no point getting people to do something that they are totally against, because it'll have the opposite effect.
Yeah. So then after the Army, where to from there for Ric?
You went over to Western Australia and bummed around over there for a while, came back for a couple of years, then I ended up going to Papua New Guinea for 3 years. Worked for the Development Bank up there and travelled all around PNG. There wasn't too many places that I didn't go. And a lot of the time, like I can remember one thing was travelling up the Sepik River in a canoe, and there was a tourist boat that used to be called the Sepik Explorer that was travelling along there, and I thought, geez, this is amazing. I'm getting paid to do this, and those people are paying thousands.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of the interesting experiences up there.
And then back to Australia after that?
Yeah, back to Australia after that, and worked in corporate and commercial finance for many years. Then did accounting. Became a partner in a public accounting practice in Shepparton. So I did that up until about 1998, and then had a huge meltdown.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I was actually going upstairs to work each morning, and then I sit in my office. I wouldn't answer the phone because I was afraid that it was going to be a client ringing to say that they were moving somewhere else. No basis for those thoughts whatsoever. And then about 11 o'clock, I'd be feeling totally sick and went home, went to sleep till 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, come out, get on the horse and go out and work some cattle for a while. And that went on for about, probably about a month until I actually went and saw a doctor who said, you are suffering from extreme anxiety and deep depression, and here's a certificate, you're off work for 6 months.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of a rather amazing journey and a very, very life-changing situation, really, that had to be dealt with without any preparation whatsoever, and also have to deal with alone.
So let me clarify this, Ric. So within the space of a year, you've had a marriage breakdown.
Yep.
You've now got 6 months off with mental health, which back then was probably not even really known much. It was very unrecognised back then. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. It was a shameful thing to have any mental health problem because, of course, no such thing existed.
And then you've got 6 months off and you're a partner in an accountant firm. How did that go down?
Oh, after the 6 months, I felt so shamed that I had let my partners down and that I had let my clients down. It was a very, very difficult time. So I ended up walking away from the accounting practice, and I never did accounting again because subsequently, about 18 months or so later, the diagnosis was changed to bipolar disorder, and I just felt that ethically I could never work in a situation as an accountant again, because my advice might be dependent on mood. So ethically, I felt that I would have to advise clients that they were dealing with an accountant that had bipolar disorder. And I thought, well, that's not really going to be a particularly satisfactory experience for most people. So I had to walk away from it personally.
How old were you at this stage when you were diagnosed with bipolar?
Between 43 and 45, this sort of occurred.
Okay, yep.
Which is not an unusual age for it to happen, apparently.
Did you have kids at this stage too, Ric?
Yep, 5 girls.
Wow, 5 girls.
We had hundreds of times nothing, 5 times 5 girls.
So you got 5 girls.
Yep.
You had a marriage breakdown.
Yep.
Been diagnosed 6 months off and now lost your business.
Yep.
What was that like and what happened from there?
Well, that was a very, very difficult journey because you lose your identity effectively and self-value, because everything that you've built up and believed about yourself has just never been thrown into disarray. So it's a matter of rebuilding, and that certainly took me several years. And then I think in 2000 I moved to Wedderburn. And I think I started doing web development and web design because I'd always had computers since 1983 and just in love with technology. So I did that for a number of years, but really only part-time because I just couldn't rely on myself to be part of a team environment or work or anything like that. So most of it was just fiddling around, and it paid for my technological habits.
We'll come back to the technology stuff because I do want to talk a bit about some of the stuff that you are an expert in later in the podcast. Is this about the time when you started to really throw yourself into volunteering and helping others? Would you say this is around the time?
Yeah, it was probably around about 2004, 2005 that I came across people with similar problems to my own, and who had extremely poor experiences within the mental health system. Mind you, I don't think much has changed. There's been a lot of talk about it, but I don't think in reality that that's occurred. The problem with a lot of those people is that they didn't have the ability to articulate the problems that they had faced, they were quite concerned that if they did articulate those, that it could blow back off on them next time. For example, if they'd been in the psych centre and they complained about their treatment there, the next time they went in and they're locked up, that they might be treated badly. Now, I'm not saying that that would be the case, but that was the fear that people had as a result of that. So I heard a bloke called David Swale on the wireless when I was driving back from Bendigo one day, who had a Healthy Minds network up at Swan Hill, which was working on suicide prevention. So I went up and saw him, and I went to a couple of their meetings up there, and I came back and I took a proposal to the Loddon Shire that one be established here. And the reason that I wanted the council involved was because it's the third tier of government and has the ability to go direct to state government, who have got the direct responsibility for mental health within the state. So that's still going. Here in Wedderburn, or here in the Loddon Shire, it's a shame that there's not as the number of community members involved in it, because it really is all about the community. But unfortunately, I suppose it's like anything, cancer, diabetes, domestic violence. People don't seem to get interested until it touches them personally.
Yeah.
And mental health is one of those things that it's not discriminate. A bit like a common cold. It can affect anybody at any time, any family.
You've been a massive advocate for mental health. Tell us a little bit more, because then you went on to you've done walks, you've done rides, you've done all sorts of things. Tell us a bit more about the charity side of Ric Raftis and what you've done to support others with mental health, but also to get the message out there.
Geez, Ray, a lot of it I can't even remember.
Well, this is a big part of how I got involved in mental health myself was you. So, well, sorry, not a big part. The only reason I got involved was you, because you were doing the Bendigo, I think it was the Spam Walk and the Black Dog Ride at that stage or something. And that's how we got it to Mildura. But if we talk about the fact that there's a lifeline now in Mildura, that was largely responsible for you coming to me and saying you need to do something here and we need to do it. Since then, we've now got a lifeline in Mildura. But these are the type of things that you've been able to achieve in the background that most people probably don't know or recognise about Ric.
That's fine. As long as I get acknowledged for getting you a bike licence, that's fine, Ray.
Well, you were the reason. True story. So I actually don't tell too many stories on the podcast, Ric, but I'll tell the story about the night you called up and said, will you start a black dog ride in Mildura? And I said, well, I can't ride a motorbike. I don't have a licence. But it's a good cause and I need to do it. So that's how it came about. But that was thanks to you again.
You still can't ride a motorbike.
Still can't ride a motorbike. Poor old Ric rode behind me for a long way on the way to Ayers Rock. And I think he was a bit horrified. Between you and Pity, I think you'd just about given up on me by the end of it. But I've never fallen off. So that's that. Unlike others in this conversation, I've never fallen off a bike.
Yeah, that's very true. No, I was involved with the Span walking in Bendigo, suicide prevention awareness network there. I think I did this either the very first or the second black ride from Victoria to Alice Springs, and subsequent to that, I took over as the Victorian coordinator and did that for a number of years. But yeah, the bikes was a really good way of getting people talking about mental health and going into towns, because you'd create the interest and that type of thing. So anything to do that, and probably the best one of those would probably have been the time when the dairy industry was really struggling here in Victoria. The state ride that we did, we all dressed up as Frisian cows in onesies and rode around the state like that to raise awareness about the plight of the dairy industry, for one, but also the secondary impact that has of affecting people's mental health. So that was a huge success, particularly down in the Western Districts around Warrnambool and those areas down there. I think it was really good even for a lot of the riders, because they got to see dairy farms and understand how people live. So I think the greater awareness that people have of how other people live, well, then you can understand the problems that they might be facing.
So then you also went on to do the mental health first aid course, and you're a trainer in that as well, Rick?
Yes, I did the mental health first aid training and delivered that up here in the country for quite a few years. Unfortunately, one of their requirements is that you have to do 6 courses in 2 years to maintain your accreditation. And it's just not possible because to deliver that to the ordinary people, and I don't mean that in any sort of a demeaning manner, I just mean community members, it would cost them $250 each to do the course, because you've got to pay for the room hire, you've got to pay for tucker and the materials, etc. And most people don't have that sort of money to invest in a mental health course. So the only ones you could do were those that were corporate funded. And there was a number of those. I did a lot for business. I did, I think, about 4 for the Loddon Shire for various staff here. But I had to let my accreditation go because I just wasn't able to maintain it. It certainly still is a very, very valuable course that people can put under their belt. There's a lot of talk about suicide prevention, but I have always maintained, and I still do, mental health first aid, in my view, is more important than going and doing a course in suicide prevention. And I say that because if you can recognise the signs of mental health problems earlier on and get people help for that, then you won't have to deal, hopefully, with a potential suicide.
So, Rick, look, sadly, probably every one of our listeners have been affected by someone or themselves that got mental health. You've been one that's probably given me a lot of advice how to work with those people. Can you tell us a little bit about what sort of advice you would give to someone that's got a family member or themselves going through mental health?
Look, it's a very individual thing, so it's a matter of asking a lot of questions of the person that's seeking help. And I presume you're referring to a third party here, or to the person themselves?
Yeah, well, let's do it in this instance. Let's talk third party.
Okay, third party asking what changes they've seen in the person, and what it is that concerns them. And usually, if you've been involved in mental health for some time, you'll have a bit of an inkling about what's going on. But you are not a diagnostician, and you're not there to make diagnoses for them and say, "Oh, it sounds like they've got this," or "They sounds like they've got that." It's not your role. Your role is primarily to get them help. And one of the things that I always recommend is if they can get them to a GP, to please make sure that you go with them. And the reason for say that is because if you are experiencing depression, it will, in my experience, be the case that it's not sadness. People often say, "Well, you're sad." No, you're not anything. It's just a void, an empty void. And if you sit in front of a doctor and he said, "Well, tell me how you feel," "I don't know. I don't feel." That's the problem. And it's very difficult to convey that, or what's happened, or what happened yesterday. So if there's a third party there to explain that, that can be of immense value. And also that the other thing is too, that if having a third party in the room at a doctor's is to make sure that that goes through and is followed through with some additional support and additional counselling, because unfortunately today we've got doctors that have got 6 minutes to see someone, and there's no point giving somebody antidepressants and sending them away and they're not even making a follow-up appointment. So that's where the third party comes in very, very handy as a carer.
Rick, I reckon I've asked this question in our last podcast too, but if you're Prime Minister, what are you going to change for mental health in Australia?
They've tried so much. They've tried so many different things. I think Patrick McGorry has been one of the most vocal advocates that we could possibly have for mental health changes. It's a social problem. Probably one of the biggest things would probably be funding arrangements. There are so many agencies, and you can't keep track of them, and their funding is such that it's on a cycle, and 6 months before the funding's due to expire, the staff start looking for another job so they've got secure employment. They leave, the funding's renewed, but the staff have gone, so they've got to get all new staff. And so we have a revolving door mental health sort of type situation where those without private health insurance are really, really struggling because they're telling the same story over and over again and don't feel that they're getting anywhere.
All right, Rick, we're going to move off mental health. We're going to talk about the ride, though, that you did.
Yeah, let's lighten the mood a bit.
I'm going to lighten the mood. It's actually going to get dark before it gets light here because we're riding through the Barossa together.
Yes.
On our way to Ayers Rock.
Yep.
You want to tell part of the story from here, or do you want me to? And I'll just jump in and tell the rest of the story when I need to.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't really matter what I say, Ray, because you'll lie anyway. We'd left Orroroo and we were on our way to Wilmington along the back way, and I think we probably had around about 200 riders.
Yeah, it
in
was
the group.
A big ride. Yeah,
it was a very big ride, and we just had morning tea at Orroroo, and then we're heading off, and I came over a rise, and just a little bit further down, somebody who shall remain nameless had decided to make a U-turn in the middle of the road in the midst of a group of 200 motorcycles.
To get his beanie, a beanie or a scarf.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I think I was unsighted. I was behind a couple of other bikes, and they had obviously got around him and everything like that because they're a little bit more nimble. Those bikes probably had brakes too. Unfortunately, I was on an old Harley, which are not known for their brakes.
No.
And I couldn't use the front one because I'd lose my steerage, so I only had the back brake to roll on. It was a drum brake, and so I'm braking and trying to get around it. But anyway, I just clipped the bar as I went past him, and that's probably about the last thing that I remember until I came to, and I can remember seeing Ric's face looking down at me. And I thought, Jesus, I am in hell.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific, to be honest. I remember pulling over and realising it was you because you were the reason I was on the ride. You were obviously extremely close.
Yep.
And it was a horrific accident because I thought I'd lost you. So, it was one of the more confronting days of my life. But then the story does lighten up from here, Nick, because Rick was alive and he went to hospital, and I got a call that night. I think I was in Cooper Pedy or somewhere by this time, actually. And I got a call from Rick saying, "Hey, mate, any chance you can go back to the scene where I fell off my bike?" And I said, "What do you need, Rick? What's wrong?" He goes, "I reckon I've left my goon bag back there. I just want to see if it's still okay." Absolute true story. Because you did like a wine.
Every time I hear it. Yeah, go on.
You did like a wine back then, Rick.
Yes.
Did you find the goon bag?
I think we actually did.
I think we did.
We did. We found the goon bag. I think it was me and Ash took it back to you, and we found the goon bag and dropped it into the hospital bed, actually. So
no, you did not.
Did we bring it back to Cooper Pedy, and then you came out of hospital?
Yeah,
and
you went.
Yeah.
You came. You went to Port Augusta from there, and then I came up with Barney. Stayed back at Orroroo and brought me in the support vehicle the next morning, so I was still able to complete the ride, but on a different type of vehicle.
Yeah, you did take a fair tumble, though. It was, that was crazy. Yeah. So, all right, now let's lighten the mood and talk a bit about some of your other interests. So you're actually a singer and a avid poet. Is that correct?
Oh, that's in a past life, yes.
Tell us a bit about that. I believe you had a couple of CDs or something, didn't you? Or at least one?
Yes, I've got one. I've still got plenty of copies too. If you want to buy some, Ray, they'll be worth a fortune when I'm dead.
Yeah, collector's items.
Like most other things, Picasso's art, for example. Yeah, look, I've been playing guitar since I was 15 years of age and singing and that sort of thing. And when I was here in Wedderburn, I got, actually before that, I got quite interested in bush poetry. And then here in Wedderburn, I organised a PA and started going out and doing a bit of singing and bush poetry and participating in bush poetry competitions around the place and writing a lot of my own stuff. That was enjoyable, but I don't really do much of it anymore. It seems to be one of those things about bipolar disorder that you'll have interests in and you'll go at them for at 130% for a period of time and then think, okay, I've done that. Now what can I do?
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit like that. But I still play guitar a little bit down at the RSL. We have open mic days there. Involved in them and do the sound and that sort of stuff.
So were you a bit of a bush balladeer? Is that what you'd classed yourself as?
Australian bush music.
Yeah. Keeping
the traditions of the bushwhackers alive.
Nice.
And that type of music. It's great music because I think it's so much like Irish music, like traditional Irish music, and it's just stirs the soul. It's a lovely thing that we, as part of our heritages, and so is our bush poetry.
Have you heard of the Shades of Troopers Creek from Horsham?
No.
That was my uncle's band. They were bush balladeers too.
Oh, right.
And they toured around everywhere. He's in Germany at the moment doing the same thing.
So I should also say that Nick's the singer in the band, Rick.
All right.
Jats Crackers.
Good.
But used to work in a music shop. I'm not sure you ever saw your CDs come through that music shop.
I don't think I did, no.
No, I don't think so either. They might have come through as packing. That'd be about it.
You touched on earlier that you went into IT type stuff, websites, that type of thing. It's a changing world, as we were chatting about earlier. Let's talk a little about IT, AI, the world as it is today. What's your thoughts, Rick?
Well, I had a bit of an interesting thought this morning, and I've been doing some research on that today. I was out walking, and one of the things that people are talking about, that I'm hearing anyway, but not everyone's exposed to the same circles, is about humans merging with artificial intelligence. And I was thinking about that this morning, and I realised, I think that we already have, because if you have a look at man's relationship with machines, as soon as we get in a car, we're giving up our agency to walk.
Yep.
As soon as we get in a plane, we use the phone to communicate. All of those things are ceding part of our agency to machines. And I suppose that the next step down the track at some stage will be brain implants. I don't know. That's beyond me. A lot of the bad things that people talk about, they seem to overlook the good things, like the alpha fold and the protein folding, the amount of new drugs that have come out as a result of AI changes. The diagnosis of cancers has been, increased greatly. There's just been so many good things, but they tend to be overlooked for the purpose of fear. So I think artificial intelligence is a remarkable technology, but it's like fire. It can either cook your food or it can burn you. And it's just a matter of making sure that there are responsible people in the main looking after it. But I've got a very, very wide range of views about that, Ray, so I'll let you ask the questions.
Well, the question I've got is, there's a lot of people that really don't know where to start with AI. And so I'd ask you, like, for a beginner or someone that goes, we really want to have a look and see what we can do, what would your advice be? Like, where would you start? Like, I've heard some of your thoughts, but I'd love to hear, for the beginner, for the novice, the people not really knowing where to start, what would you do?
If you are, there's a lot of rabbits around that claim to be AI specialists, and when nobody knows about something, it's very easy to claim that you know everything, because you only need to know a little bit more. Probably there are some very, very good YouTubers around, but depends on your level of knowledge as to whether you'd understand what they're talking about. But people like David Shapiro talks about post-labour economics, what's going to happen to our society when jobs have been removed. How we will have to adapt then. He's probably very good, but one of the things people can probably do, which is probably a lot more reliable, is if they're in Victoria, and I don't know about the other states, but if they join the Melbourne City Library, they can get access to LinkedIn Learning for free. And there'll be any number of courses on there about introduction to AI that people can do. And then sort of just start asking questions, start looking around, start using it. That's the biggest thing, is to start using it. And people, one of the things that I find is very common is that most people who say, "Oh, ChatGPT doesn't work," or whatever, it's because they're not asking the right questions. Artificial intelligence and chatbots are really like a 3-year-old child. Unless you ask them the right questions, they're not going to give you the right answers.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is a very, very important thing. Learn how to communicate with the models, and also bear in mind that ChatGPT is a bit like Hoovers, because they're not Hoovers, they're vacuum cleaners. Just that they stole. Everybody calls it that. Same with Nugget. All those things that have a generic type name, AI and chatbots seem to all be called ChatGPT, and there's plenty of other models that are out there that people can use. And personally, I use Gemini for everything because I like the Google ecosystem. It all links in with each other.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Grok myself.
Well, good for you, Nick.
that's the Elon Musk one. The Google one, which is Gemini, you're right. So it allows you to search your Google ecosystem for your personal information.
Well, I like the fact that Google owns its own model, whereas Microsoft doesn't. So it's Google's Gemini is Google's Gemini. And if you are a Google user and have a Google account, particularly at a workspace level like I do, you can connect your Google Drive to it and actually interrogate it. So I was asking some questions yesterday and gave it access to my drive at the same time, so I could go and have a look at all my conversations and everything. Now, that's not going out onto the web either, by the way. That stays in-house. You don't want to be giving personal information out, obviously. But that is a huge advantage where you've been recording information, writing letters for the last 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and you can ask a question about something and it can recall that and say, well, back in then you referred to this, and you go back and find things. It's almost can be like a second brain.
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do is I use Obsidian as a personal knowledge management system. And I've got a script running so that it backs up my Obsidian Vault every night at 6 o'clock to my Google Drive, so that all my Obsidian notes are also available to Gemini when I want to interrogate them.
What is Obsidian? Is that just like a note-taking app?
Yeah, it's a free personal knowledge management system. It's local. You keep it on your own computer.
Yeah.
It's text-based. It's all Markdown. But in 50 or 100 years' time, as long as you've got access to a text editor like Notepad, you'll be able to still read all your notes. Whereas if you're putting them into something like Notion, it's proprietary software, so you can't necessarily access them if the technology changes.
Yep.
You mentioned another one last night that was good for extracting brand information. What was that one, Rick?
Pomeli. That's I think that's in beta mode or at the moment with Google, and you can just put your web address in there and it'll go and extract all your brand colours and fonts and everything like that and generate some social media campaigns for you. At the moment, because Google just puts out so much stuff for free, and that's one of the things that probably is worthwhile looking at on YouTube is the Google channel, so that you can keep up with what they are releasing, because there's just so much available and it's just so hard. It's all over the place. They unfortunately don't keep everything in the one place where you can access it and know what is all available and what it does.
What's crazy here, Nick, is Rick is how many years old now, Rick?
70.
I don't think there's too many 70-year-olds that even know what AI is.
Yeah.
Seriously. Amazing your knowledge on this type of stuff.
Would it be fair to say you don't have an iPhone, Rick?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I have a Google Pixel, Pixel 9.
How's that working for you, Rick?
It's working fine.
Tell us a little bit more. I also know that you've got some other projects going on. Something to do with Kokoda. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, last year we the Wedderburn-Korong Vale RSL were involved in sending 4 students from the Wedderburn College to walk the Kokoda track, and it was just an absolutely life-changing experience for them. The change was profound, to say the least, and from a socio-economic area like Wedderburn and districts, it was something that most people just wouldn't get the opportunity to do, and it's been inspiring to see how those students have changed, how the culture of the school has changed, and so we're sending another 2 this year. So we're working on that at the moment, and doing some fundraising. So we're trying to raise about $18,000 to send these 2 kids on the trek.
How are you going with that?
Well, we've only just started the fundraising, so we've got 16,000 to go. But the community will get behind it. There's no doubt about that, and we've got a few other irons in the fire. It's a matter of looking for other ways of doing things, and I think one of those is actually I'm offering free consulting to people in AI and strategic planning and that sort of stuff. And whilst I do the work for free, the charge that would normally be made is donated to the Kokoda Fund directly by the person for whom I do it. And the thing, it came to me that this is a great opportunity for changing the world of philanthropy, because how many old farts are there like me sitting at home with skills that they could well turn into charitable donations that can drive our communities better.
And if someone wants to donate to this, Rick, how do they do it?
Get on the risestrategic.au page, because there's links there that go straight to the GoFundMe page where they can make a donation.
All right, we'll pop that on the podcast page as well and promote that for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated.
Rick, all right, so let's just kick on to the last question. So, Rick, the podcast is actually called I Should Have Stayed in Bed. So we want to know from you, what is your I should have stayed in bed moment, or the day that you should have stayed in bed?
What date did we meet, Ray? No, not at all.
Well, actually, we'll tell that story because actually the way we met was I was working for Telstra, and Rick was a Telstra customer, and I was working through a escalated complaint. And I met this guy, and his name was Ric Raftis, and that's how it all began, and we've been mates ever since. And I've known you for probably 15, 20 years now, and it's been a long time, but you've been an absolute legend to me and a big part of my life. So it's funny how these things happen.
Yeah, I think probably the most recent example of a day I should have stayed in bed was in November. We tried to go to Mungo last year, and the road between Hillston and Mungo gravel, and it looked like it was starting to rain, going to be a bit of rain, so we turned around and came back. So in November we thought, we'll try again. Hooked up the van and headed off, and we're travelling up the Sea Lake to Swan Hill Road, and about 15 k's out of Swan Hill. Well, the roads in country Victoria are a bloody disgrace. It's I think the government's lucky that they can't be sued, but the shoulder was sort of probably 8 inches away from the bitumen, and the back wheel of the caravan just dropped off the side as I moved over for a car that was coming in the opposite direction. And then when the van came back on, I just pulled it back onto the bitumen, but it went into an uncontrollable sway and rode off the Land Cruiser and the caravan.
Oh, far out.
But walked away, and that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
Those things can be replaced. But that was a day that was perhaps I'd rather not go through again. Yeah.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today, but also for the impact that you've had on my life. And thank you once again for catching up with us today.
No worries. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Nick. See ya. But it's like fire. It can either cook your food or it can burn you.